Going well, Andrew. How you doing? Yeah. Yeah, I watched the Northwestern Purdue game last night, and that game was pretty much what you'd expect from two teams that will probably finish in like the 4 to 6 spots of their own division. Northwestern won 31-27. Purdue kind of blew it at the end with a penalty, but it was at least good to be able to watch college football again. Yeah, I mean they did have 10 wins last year, so they're not a terrible team. And Pat Fitzgerald seems to be a pretty good coach. They just ultimately won't have the talent to actually challenge for the division or the conference, but they are who they are, and who they are is probably an 8 to 9 win team this year. It's just what they do. Hey, I know you probably won't believe me, but I did have Northwestern last night. So I'm 1-0. Yeah. So Minnesota smoked New Mexico State last night. They won 48-10. The quarterback that we're talking about, the freshman from IMG, he didn't have the best numbers. Looks like he was 33 through, so less than 50% completion, but had a couple touchdowns, no interceptions. And against a team like New Mexico State, you just have to not lose the game. So did his job. Doesn't look like he did his job super efficiently, but it's New Mexico State, so it didn't really matter. And at least he has a little bit of experience now. Yeah. True. I also didn't realize New Mexico State has already played 2 games this year. So they got beat by Wyoming 5 days ago and then smoked by Minnesota last night. So long season for the Aggies. Hey, that's what they were last year. Probably people that couldn't get into New Mexico. Pretty. Their basketball team was decent this year. All right. Yeah, in Nebraska. But all right, let's move on to some games that actually probably matter. I will not be showing up at that game. One, I really don't see the point, and two, I'm going to be playing golf this afternoon and watching the game at a bar. So at Wisconsin, students don't generally show up to the game until about midway through the second quarter, and the game will probably be over by halftime. So I would say that probably about 80% of the student section leaves at halftime or in the third quarter and heads out to the bars on State Street in Madison. Um, shoot, what is the over under for that game? I think 36 and a half is what they're favored. Not sure what the over under is though. It looks like 52 and a half is what the over under set at. I'll take the over. I think Wisconsin probably puts up, in the 40s on their own, and Western Kentucky might hit a couple late touchdowns. So I'll take the over, and I probably actually go with Wisconsin to cover the 36 and a half. They started pretty slow last year in their opener against Utah State. I think that game might have actually been tied at the end of the first quarter, and they still ended up winning that game by 49. So I don't expect them to start slow tonight. I think Jonathan Taylor probably has over 200 yards rushing, and Wisconsin wins by probably about 40 points. Yeah, I think this is where Wisconsin shows that they're probably going to win the West Division again, and it's only Western Kentucky, but I expect them to put a stamp on the start of their season and really get things going. Um, yeah, so I know Michigan State's ranked 11. I know they had a pretty good season last year. I'm not as high on them as a lot of people are this year. I don't think they're going to be what everybody expects. I think they're going to be the fourth team in their own division, finishing behind Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan. Favored 25 tonight. I think it's either 20. It's between 23 and 25. It's gone a little bit up and down. I really don't think they cover. I know Utah State's not a great team, but I don't think Michigan State's going to put up a lot of points. So with the over under set at 51, I probably would still take the over. 51's not a lot of points for a season opener. So I would take that, but I do expect Utah State to cover, and I expect Michigan State to probably come down in the rankings a little bit after what I expect to be a decent showing, but not a great showing. Okay, I mean that's fair. They did have 10 wins last year after their bowl win. I think they beat Washington State pretty handily in the Holiday Bowl. I just see D'Antoni's teams as a good team, not a great team. So we'll see what happens. I don't think we're going to learn much tonight from Utah State. I think they'll probably still win by about 20. I just don't expect them to cover. I mean, we can go through Kent State and Illinois pretty quickly. Illinois actually got worse in Lovie Smith's second season last year. So his first season they were 3-9. Second season in a pretty bad division in the Big Ten. I don't know if we're ever going to see that bad of a West again. They went 2-10. Um, Luckily for them, they get Kent State to open their season. Kent State was also 2-10 last year. One of the worst MAC teams probably this year again. So Illinois is at home. They're favored 16.5. Usually I wouldn't expect Illinois to be even able to put up 16.5. So despite them playing a bad Kent State team, I'd probably say Kent State covers the points. Wisconsin win or not Wisconsin, Illinois wins by probably 2 touchdowns. I don't know about another year. I think they'll give him this season, see where things stand, but I honestly don't know who they're going to get that's better. So they were excited when they got him. They might give him another year after this one, but we'll see. I don't think they're going to be happy with 2-10 again. There is local talent out of Chicago, but a lot of the guys don't stick around the state. And you're also competing with Northwestern directly in Chicago now, who has a better program and at this point, what looks like a better college football coach. So yeah, they don't have a lot going for them, and I think they're probably still going to be one of the worst teams in the conference, probably for. Yeah, you're not wrong, but anyways, I'm tired of talking about Illinois football, so let's let's move this along. It is on Big Ten Network. There'll be over 10 people. There might be 13 or 14 at least for the first half. It's just been bad football. So Texas State is a really bad team. I think they're new to the Sun Belt. They went 2-10 last year. Rutgers is favored 16.5. Oh, I don't know who to pick in this one. They're both going to be so bad to watch. I'll take Rutgers to cover 16.5, not because Rutgers is anything, but just because Texas State is so terrible. Minimal talent, suspensions, and I still think they can cover 16.5 at home to Texas State. Yeah, yeah. Last year you'd be hard pressed to find a worse power conference team than Oregon State. I think them versus Illinois might have been the cause for the apocalypse if they were to play each other. Um, it's you mentioned Urban Meyer. This isn't a game where Urban Meyer's absence is going to make a difference. The Oregon State is starting to get some transfers. They're just terrible. Last year they went 1-11. They were 0-9 in the Pac-12. Pac-12 was good, not great last year. Their recruiting class is by rivals ranked 67th in the country. And they have a severe disadvantage in that Mike Riley, the former Nebraska coach, is now an analyst with Oregon State. any advice that he's going to give Oregon State and how to play Ohio State is worthless. When he was at Nebraska, they got traditionally smoked by Ohio State. They usually gave up about 60 points. Ohio State's favored 38.5 going into this one. I expect them to cover that. I just don't see anything redeemable about this Oregon State team. I think it's going to give Ohio State a little bit of false confidence, though. I think Haskins probably throws for about 250 yards, runs for quite a few, and everybody gets excited. And I don't think it's until they play TCU in 2 weeks that we really find out if he's going to be the quarterback that can continue, bringing Ohio State to the college football playoff. He's second string now. So they had a guy transfer to LSU. So Tate Martell he's in the 2 spot. He's got to get some minutes against Oregon State. Probably. Yeah, there's always talent there, and that's why they continue to produce the teams that they produce. But it'll be if nothing else, it'll be fun to see Tate Martell play a college football game just to see how he stacks up with his size and speed. Fun fact before we move on to Tate Martell, for those that don't know, he went undefeated in 3 years at Bishop Gorman, won a few national championships in high school. Bishop Gorman lost their season opener 42-0 this year. So yeah, I think they played Mater Dei and they got absolutely smoked. So nothing else, Tate. You're a high school legend. I just don't think he's going to be that good in college. Dorian something, yeah. Not sure. I just saw the score pop up, I think last week or the week before, and was kind of surprised. But yeah, you never know at that level. But anyways, yeah. So what's next? Yeah, Texas is interesting. So you think about Texas football and you think about all the talent that they have. Texas's recruiting class last year was not even a top 30 recruiting class. They didn't have a lot coming in, so maybe it was based a little bit on need. But they were a 7-16 last year, played in the Big 12. I I think they'll probably beat Maryland tonight, but given that the spread is 13.5 for a road team, I'm going to take Maryland. I know Maryland's got, the cloud of controversy hanging over it right now, but I think that's going to serve as a little bit of a rallying cry for the Terps tonight, and I think it's going to be a tight game. All right, well, we'll agree to disagree. It's a long season, buddy. Yeah, so we got another Sun Belt team here, but probably one of the better ones. When they beat Michigan, that was back in 2007. That was when they were still, I think, an FCS team. They did move up to FBS, have showed that they can compete with some of the teams at that level. And it's the start of the Penn State era without Saquon Barkley. You still have Trace McSorley there, so I think from a quarterback standpoint, he is one of the best in the country. But it'll be interesting to see if Penn State, transitions to be a little bit more of a passing team this year. Doesn't rely on the run because they don't have that NFL talent back there, at least not a top 5 NFL talent. Penn State's favored 24 going into this one this weekend. I think Penn State probably covers that 24. You have to take Appalachian State because you just talked them up. I just think they're such a golfing class in talent, and yeah, if Appalachian State even runs them close, it's a losing situation for Penn State. I just don't see it happening. Well, one, you really like talking about Iowa. It's tough to tell who your favorite team is. Um, yeah, this is a tough one. It's one where my heart has Northern Illinois winning. My head says it's going to be Iowa. I think Iowa probably wins this one, and I think they probably win it by 2 touchdowns. Northern Illinois they were a great team last year for the MAC. I think they'll probably be a decent team again this year, but talent doesn't match up. I think Iowa's going to be, who Iowa is, win 9 games, maybe 10 games this year, and I think they cover the 10 points. I will pick against Iowa plenty times this year. Yeah, so Nebraska taking on another MAC team. I think the exciting thing for Nebraska is this is really kind of wiping the slate clean and starting over. Scott Frost isn't his head coach. Everybody's super excited about that from a Nebraska standpoint. And for the first time in Nebraska's history, there's a true freshman that's going to be starting at quarterback in a season opener. So Adrian Martinez beat out Tristan Gebbia for the starting quarterback job. Freshman, four-star quarterback out of California. Scott Frost tried to recruit when he was at Central Florida. Central Florida didn't have the clout to get Martinez, but he did come in to Nebraska after Scott Frost took the job, won that job, and then what happened after that is Gebbia decided to transfer, and he's transferring to Oregon State. So Nebraska is a little bit light at quarterback if Martinez either gets hurt or doesn't prove out to be quite ready to take the reins. I really don't like playing MAC teams. I think MAC teams are, always the team that can show up and if nothing else, make it a competitive game. That said, if I'm going to play a MAC team, I'm okay with it in Akron. Nebraska's favored by 26 points here. Scott Frost seems pretty excited about the talent that he has on offense, especially at a receiver standpoint. JD Spielman, Stanley Morgan Jr., who's projected to be, right around a third-round pick this year. And Tyjon Lindsey coming in. He's going to be a sophomore this year out of that Bishop Gorman team that played with Tate Martell. Huskers favored 26. It seems like a lot, but I fully expect, Lincoln to be rocky. Memorial Stadium's going to be full again. Scott Frost's first game. I think Nebraska probably covers that. I'd say Nebraska wins by 28 points. Wow. Yep. And as much as I don't like playing MAC teams for a season opener, I love playing night games for a season opener. So you get Lincoln at 7 p.m. for Scott Frost's first game. I don't think there's any chance Akron keeps this close. Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's just kind of a nothing game given the other slate of games that we have. Florida International is probably like the sixth best team in the state of Florida. So it's not like they're going down and playing a team like Miami or Florida State or Florida or even Florida Atlantic, really. Um, the interesting thing about FIU is their head coach is Butch Davis, who used to coach both North Carolina and Miami. So there is a little bit of history with him. He's a decent coach. First year last year they went 8-5, but they lost their top starter at wide receiver. They lost their quarterback. They lost their running back. And Indiana is supposed to be a little bit improved this year, so I'll take Indiana in this one. Yep. Yeah. I mean, quick shout out for Central Florida, Scott Frost Old Stomping Grounds. They opened their season last night and won by about 30. So Josh Heupel off to a good start there. Yeah, so you mentioned Shea Patterson. I think he's the difference maker for Michigan this year. It'll be interesting to see Jim Harbaugh work with a quarterback that has, the talent of the profile of quarterback that he's worked with before. So, whether it pans out or not, we don't know. But I think the talent is there for Harbaugh to work with, which will be interesting. I'm pretty high on Michigan this year. I think Michigan, despite having a very difficult schedule, for me, they're the best team in the East this year. I know a lot of people will say Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State. I think Michigan, with their defense coming back, they return 8 starters on defense, one of the best defenses in the country, and a quarterback that can actually get some people the ball. I think Michigan's going to be really good this year and probably a dark horse for the playoff. So with that said, yeah, I'm going to take Michigan. I'd probably honestly take Michigan on the money line. You get a little bit better return on that. But to cover 1.5, yeah, I'm taking Michigan. And I think Notre Dame struggles this year, and Brian Kelly's on a little bit of a hot seat by the end of the season. Yeah, I'll be doing the same. So it's good to have college football back. I think we'll learn a little bit this weekend. I think we'll learn about Michigan. We'll probably learn a little bit about what Nebraska is going to look like. I think some of the other games are going to be a little bit of a cakewalk, and we'll have to wait to figure out who some of these teams actually are. But if nothing else, college football's back, and it'll be fun to watch.